What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the old Cranky Man channel. My name is Rugley here with a little Canadian Highlander Maple Cup. This is the finals, top 8 tournament of our Canadian Highlander League here at GK in Ankeny, Iowa. At the top of your screen for this round is Eric playing Esper Flash. This is a super duper interesting deck. I don't think that I've seen anything like this. I know Surge from LRR has an Azorius Flash deck, but splashing black in here makes a lot of sense. You got Orcish Bowmasters, you got Opposition Agent in addition to more really good one mana removal, and I'm sure some other stuff too. I haven't looked at the list too thoroughly. I would imagine we'll have to take a gander at it here shortly though, because there are some cards in there that I don't know what do. At the bottom of your screen is Luke playing Seeker Walk. Guess what the points are? Well, they're not 10 anymore. It's only 9 now, so Luke gets to play a Survival of the Fittest. Eric has triple Mox. There's an error in the overlay. It says Mox Sapphire. So is it quadruple Mox? Triple Mox, Umezawa's Jite. Both players starting off on Scalding Tarns here. Yeah, so this is the finals to the Maple Cup. That's our Canadian Highlander League. We've been playing it for the last month. All these players earning points to qualify for this top 8 tournament. At the end here, winner gets a cash prize and 3 points for the Longlander series. The first date for the Quarter 1 Longlander qualifier, was announced. That is March 23rd, 2024. Come on out to play some Canadian Highlander, earn some qualifications so that you can play in the Canadian Highlander, the Longlander Championships at the end of the year. Luke with a ponder here. Looks like he will keep them on top and draw a card. Here's a Polluted Delta to shuffle 2 of those cards away. So the Seeker Walk deck, it functions sort of like a mid-range creature strategy. He's got, of course, the initiative creatures in there. Lots of creatures with relevant enters the battlefield abilities. So you get to play this mid-range creature game. He can win via combat, or he has a combo in his deck with Spellseeker, so that he can take infinite turns and win the game that way. The mid-range creature plan, very viable in its own, but when you add this infinite combo in there, it's sort of a mirror breaker, right? The other mid-range decks, they don't have this ability to go infinite in the same way that this does. Luke followed that ponder up with a Wild Growth, and now here you see a turn 3 Undermountain Adventurer. That's going to get countered by a Daze from Eric. There are, of course, some other mid-range decks that do have the ability to go infinite, like the Kiki Pod deck. And yeah, that is a great way to win a mid-range mirror. Your opponents are throwing all these creatures at you using your removal. You're playing your creatures, they're using their removal, and then eventually you're both top decking, and you have all these powerful creature tutors that find Spellseeker, which is essentially a 1-card combo. As you see a Wasteland take care of the Tundra, and a Get Lost take care of the Wall of Roots. Luke's stuck on just 2 lands now. He might be in danger. Here is a Dress Down. That's going to draw a card. Does he find the 3rd land? He does not. We'll pass back to Eric. I believe that is a, let's see, it's one of the backup creatures. It's a 0/1 with Hexproof and Flash. So he's going to put the backup counter on it. So it is now a 1/2. Fetching off of the Prismatic Vista. Yeah, this Esper Flash deck, it seems like a very classic tempo deck. You don't see a whole lot of these in our metagame. And when I say that, what I'm thinking of is these basically oops all instance decks, where they do have, lots of creatures in them, but they're either super efficient in that they cost 1 mana or 2 mana, or they have Flash, and then you back that up with tons of counter magic. You typically see Ancestral Recall in these point spreads. Eric choosing to go for Moxen here, and I can't say that I fault him. Here's a Mother of Runes. Luke is going to explore onto the Mother of Runes, try to find that third land. Here's a white mana. That is going to be a Swords to Plowshares on the Mother of Runes. And Eric just kind of has it all here. Got to be getting low on cards in hand, though. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. I guess he has not actually used that many. Still making his land drops. Perhaps 2 cards in hand. Unfortunately, this 1 power creature is going to take 13 more turns, and that's a lot of time to give Luke to draw cards. Here's a Preordain. Still looking for that third land, I would imagine. He's going to draw a card. There is a Flooded Strand. So in order for the Spellseeker to be lethal on the same turn that you play it, you need 6 mana. So 3 mana for the Spellseeker, 1 mana for the Ephemerate, and then 2 mana for the Time Walk. And that lets you untap, and then you can Ephemerate the Spellseeker again and go find like an Eldritch Evolution or something that will find an Eternal Witness. And the Eternal Witness can get back the Ephemerate. The Ephemerate can flicker the Eternal Witness and get back the Time Walk, and now you can take infinite turns. This is a Celestial Colonnade. Not something that I don't know if I've ever seen a Celestial Colonnade in Canadian Highlander. It's going to get taken care of by a Solitude, though. Eric, going to gain 4 life. Celestial Colonnade. Used to be a format staple in Modern, and one of the things that I love to tell people about Canadian Highlander is you get to play format staples that have been outclassed or banned in formats that you enjoyed, like Celestial Colonnade here, apparently from Eric. Luke Scott, I believe that is a Cosmic Rebirth in hand. Can't see what those other 2 cards are. He's just going to pass back over to Eric, who's going to untap. And here is a Hull Breacher. That is going to ambush Viper, the hexproof creature. Maybe. Looks like Eric potentially has an answer for it. Here's 3, 4, 5 mana for a Solitude on the Hull Breacher. Eric continuing to be able to play almost exclusively at instant speed throughout this whole game. Here's 3 mana from Luke. He does have the Spellseeker in hand. With only 4 mana, though, I don't know if he wants to expose the Spellseeker to Eric. Although, is Eric Hellbent? If Eric has no cards in hand, here is the Spellseeker. No, he does have cards in hand. So a Stifle is going to take care of the Spellseeker trigger. Excellent. That is a Swords to Plowshares on top of Luke's deck. Looks like Luke is going to leave that there. Stifle the Spellseeker trigger. Eric attacking 4/4. Luke down to just 7 life. Gonna draw that path. Swords, excuse me. Here's a Remand. Swords gonna go back to hand. Will he cast it again? There it is. Swords. And is this a Brainstorm in response? 2 cards are gonna go back to the top. And a Galadriel's Dismissal. Galadriel's Dismissal. I haven't actually seen this card in action before. I believe it makes target creature phase out. And then if you overload it, it makes all the creatures? I don't know, actually. It doesn't have overload. It has Kicker. Sorry, Kicker. I don't actually know what that card does. Here's an Umezawa's Jite, and with so much mana readily available, going to be able to put that on that creature and attack. Luke's got a Get Lost in hand, though. He's going to take a damage off of that Brushland. Get Lost is going to take care of the Solitude. The other creature is going to connect. Umezawa's Jite is going to get a couple counters put on it. Let's see if Eric wants to get rid of this Spellseeker. Yep, it looks like Eric is going to take care of the Spellseeker back on Luke's turn. Still has that Cosmic Rebirth in hand, so could potentially... he's going to cast a Scavenging Ooze anyway. So now that I'm thinking about it, that Mystical Archives card, I believe, is the Ephemerate. I don't think that's the Swords to Plowshares. I think that's the Ephemerate. Scavenging is going to block here. That will force Eric to use the counter that's on the Jite. And in response, Luke is going to eat a creature with the Scavenging Ooze. And then he will eat another one, it looks like. That will make the Scavenging Ooze big enough to eat the other creature in combat. The Jite will then pick up a couple more counters. And since Luke is tapped out, Eric will be able to finish off the Scavenging Ooze this turn if he chooses to. Looks like that's going to be the case. Back to Luke. And Oko, Thief of Crowns, was the draw. So Cosmic Rebirth and Oko in hand. Oko is going to make a food token and pass back over to Eric. Eric with just one card in hand. Looks to be flashing in a... this is one of those cards that I have no idea what is. Here, let's pull up Eric's deck list real quick. Is this the Angel from the Doctor Who set? Is that what that card is? Let's go to Moxfield and pull up this deck list. Esper Flash. So this is a 3-mana creature. Is it a Slither Wisp? I believe that must be what it is. No, it is Weeping Angel. Yes, it's a card from Doctor Who. It's a 2-mana flash first strike vigilance. It's a 2/2. Or sorry, 3-mana 2/2. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, if Weeping Angel isn't a creature until end of turn. Okay, so whenever they cast a creature, it's not a creature anymore. Interesting. If it would deal combat damage to a creature, prevent that damage, and that creature's owner shuffles it into their library. What a weird card. What a weird card. I don't even know what to say. It's a weird card. The first strike, it has vigilance, so it should not be tapped, first of all. First strike and vigilance on a 2/2 with flash is good enough. My problem with it is it does not block haste creatures very well. So I guess that's a downside. Interesting. Have not seen this card before. I believe we are back on Eric's turn now. And I see. Oko turned the Umezawa's Jite into a food. Nice. And this is an attack for 5, so we'll go to 1 here. Looks like Noble Hierarch. Eric was attacking the Oko, actually. Looks like Noble Hierarch is going to get in front of the Elk and a Cosmic Rebirth here to put Spellseeker back into play. I believe that means this game is over. Eric, with no cards in hand, will not be able to stop this combo from going off. Now, if I was correct, and that was indeed Ephemerate in the graveyard, Luke would have to go here for, let's see, it'll be weird. Looks like a Green Sun Zenith. Green Sun Zenith will be able to go get Eternal Witness, which can get back the Ephemerate, and then start the loop. So I don't think Luke would be able to kill this turn, but he certainly can the turn after that. Does not have enough mana to Green Sun Zenith for Eternal Witness. Ephemerate it, get back Time Walk. Yeah, does not have enough mana to do that. That'd be 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Oko going to turn this food into a 3/3. That's probably going to be on blocking duty. Got to imagine this Green Sun. Ooh, he has an Eladamri's Call in hand as well. Green Sun Zenith going to go find an Eternal Witness here, I would imagine. Nope. Looks like he's just going to pass back to Eric. Perhaps favoring going on the defensive a little bit here and then using that Eladamri's Call. So Spellseeker is going to get in front of the Weeping Angel, and the Elk will block the Elk. So those are going to trade, and then Spellseeker will die for first strike. Or perhaps not. Spellseeker did not die in combat. I wonder why that is. Luke kind of gestured towards the Oko there. Oh, it's the other piece of it. If Weeping Angel deal combat damage to a creature, prevent that damage, and that creature's owner shuffles it into their library. So is he casting Eladamri's Call in response? I'm confused. Combat damage already happened. Maybe the Spellseeker did not block the Weeping Angel. Maybe Spellseeker did not block the Weeping Angel. Eladamri's Call is going to find an Uro. Luke just trying to stabilize a little bit here, I think. Maybe give himself a good buffer of life. I believe Eric is out of cards now. One card freshly drawn off of the top. Oko going to make a food token. Here's 3 mana. It's going to be that Uro. So he'll gain 3, draw a card. He can play an extra land. He does have the land, it turns out. And a Reflecting Pool to follow that up. Wow, he dug himself right out of that hole. And now he's untapping with 6 mana and that Green Sun Zenith. I believe, unless Eric has some form of interaction here, should be game over. Eric does have a card in hand, though, and Luke is ever cautious players, so perhaps he will just wait. Looks like he is going to escape Uro. If Eric does have some form of interaction, he would likely use it here because this Uro, although might not kill him immediately, will certainly end the game over the course of several turns. So Uro going to come into play. Draw a card, play an extra land. It's a tap Temple Garden. Waterlogged Grove is the land for turn. Turn the food token into an Elk and pass back over to Eric. I see a Dress Down and a Force of Will in hand. Interesting that he did not use the Force of Will. I understand there's, some amount of pause there because the Uro would likely just come back again the following turn. And so using your very powerful counter magic on something that's just going to happen again the next turn might feel bad, but inevitably is probably the correct thing to do. Weeping Angel going to attack. That's going to get blocked by the Elk token. Not sure what that third card Eric picked up there was. I didn't get a good look at it. Arid Mesa and Green Sun Zenith in hand here. Uro going to get in the red zone, or perhaps not. Dress Down. Before attackers, Eric draws a card. Here's an Arid Mesa. And Luke is just going to pass back over. The Dress Down is going to go away. We still know he has Force of Will in hand. I didn't get a good look at that other card. He's drawn a fresh card off of the Dress Down and then a card for turn. I see a Mystical Teachings in hand. So I actually played against Eric in, I believe it was I believe it was round 2. I played against this deck, and it was a wild deck to play against. This Mystical Teachings seems very, very sweet. Mystical Teaching says search your library for an instant or creature with flash. Back on Luke's turn, Uro is getting in the red zone. Looks like Eric is just going to take the 6 here. There is an Avacyn's Pilgrim. Eric putting 3 lands in front here. I don't know if these are just getting tapped. Here's Mystical Teachings. I'm not sure which card Luke drew off of that Uro trigger, but must not be anything he wants to cast here. Mystical Teachings can go find any removal spell in Eric's deck. A lot of the creatures that are in there as well. I am not 100% certain what you would want to go get here, if not just a removal spell to take care of this Uro. Although he does have a relatively high life total. He could withstand a few more swings from this Uro. Unfortunately, looking at his list, it doesn't really look like he has anything that's super crazy outside of a removal spell. He does have the Errant and Giada he could go get so that he could go back on the offensive, maybe try to play some stuff off the top of his deck. Errant and Giada, the 3-mana 2/3 flyer that says you can play spells with flash or flying off the top of your library, kind of like the boss monster of this deck. He has tons and tons of stuff that have both and or flash and flying. Looks like about the only thing he doesn't have is Stoneforge Mystic. I believe Stoneforge Mystic is the only... Oh, he has a Troll of Khazad-dûm as well. Those are 2 out of the 29 creatures in the deck that cannot be gotten. The Wandering Emperor. This is amazing. I love this. Uro is going to get exiled. Yeah, Mystical Teaching says instant or card with flash. Or does it say creature with flash? Creature with flash? Card with flash. This is very important. Card with flash. It does say card with flash. You can get the Wandering Emperor off of Mystical Teachings. My mind is blown. It's over. I need to try this deck. Very, very sweet. So Wandering Emperor is going to plus on nothing. Oh, nope. It is going to go on the Elk. That used to be a Weeping Angel. So that's a 4/4 now. Going to get in the red zone. Oko is going to take 4. It's amazing how much damage this Planeswalker can take and still get to stick around for more. Luke going to fetch at the end of the turn here. I am still shook. I am still shook that you can get the Wandering Emperor off of Mystical Teachings. And with 8 mana up here, he'll be able to flash it back and go find something else. Luke gonna untap here. I'm real concerned about Eric's fate at this point. Believe still holding on to that Force of Will. Not sure what that other card is. I think we're gonna find out here. 2 mana. Another removal spell, I would imagine. No? Gonna think it over. Yep, still has his Force of Will in hand. That can break up any of Luke's combos with the Spellseeker. Also, yeah, it looks like he's just going to hold on to that removal spell. So that'll be able to break up the combos as well. Here's 3 mana. Here's a Phyrexian Metamorph. Got to imagine that's going to copy the Spellseeker. Let's see, is this a good one to counter? It looks like the other card in hand is a Mana Leak. Is this a good card to counter? I think it probably is. We know the other card in Luke's hand is a Green Sun Zenith. So a Green Sun Zenith for 3 here. Looks like Force of Will. Pitching a Spell Pierce is going to take care of the Metamorph. I think Luke might still have this one locked up, though. Here's a Green Sun Zenith for 3. So, yeah, so the Green Sun Zenith for 3 will get an Eternal Witness, which will pick up the Ephemerate. The Ephemerate on the Spellseeker can find Time Walk, and this game, I think, is over. Eric still has at least 1 card in hand, though. We know about the Mana Leak, so that'll be able to take care of the Ephemerate or the Time Walk. It is the Eternal Witness. Looks like Luke is going to target the Ephemerate. That's going to go back to hand. Here's the Ephemerate on the Spellseeker. That's going to find a Mana Leak. Luke has the Avacyn Spilgrim, so he can pay for this. Ephemerate's going to resolve. There's a Time Walk. And I don't know if it matters, but no, Luke is just going to pass. So Eric showed Luke the Mana Leak, and now Luke knows that if he can just untap, he'll have mana to pay for that Mana Leak. No reason to tap out now and have your thing get countered and have to figure it out again later. Sea Dasher Octopus on the instep here. Looks like it is going to attack. So maybe Sea Dasher at Luke and Angel at Oko. Eric will get to draw a card off the Sea Dasher Octopus. Back to Luke, Ephemerate on the Eternal Witness. It's going to get Ephemerate back to hand, I believe. Yep. So Luke with the Ephemerate and the Time Walk in hand now. We know Eric has that Mana Leak. I see another Mystical Archive card in hand. I'm not sure what that is. Oko, going to turn that food into an elk. Here's 2 mana for a Time Walk. And a Negate is going to take care of that. Nope, sorry, that is a counterspell, not a Negate. Ephemerate, going to get back the Time Walk. Sorry, Ephemerate on the Eternal Witness, going to get back the Time Walk, and Eric has seen enough. That is going to do it for game number 1. Yep, and, you know, there was a point there, long game, fantastically played by both players. And that is a prime example of why this Seeker Walk deck is so powerful in these mid-range situations. Both players just grinded the whole game out. Eric had tons of removal. Luke had tons of threats. At the end of the day, both players are left with very few finite resources left, and Luke's infinite combo is able to just ignore all of that. All right, it's time for game number 2 here in the quarterfinals of the Maple Cup. Eric's starting things off with a fetch land. Luke has a Prismatic Vista on his turn. It's going to be an island, so perhaps it is time to go pondering or preordaining. It is the Ponder. 3 cards on top. Luke says that is not what I wanted to see. He's going to shuffle these up. And he'll get to draw a fresh card off of the top. Haven't got to see the hand yet. Not sure what it contains. What exactly Luke is looking for here. I do see the Ephemerate in hand. Ponder's going to draw a card. There's a Fairy Mastermind in addition to the Ponder. There's an Urza Saga from Eric, and we'll just pass back over to Luke here. Does Luke have a second land? Looks like he does. Nope, just discarding the hand size. Luke has no second land. Holy cow. Here's a third land from Eric. Pass back over to Luke. It's going to be Aspara's headquarters. Unfortunately, that does come into play tapped. But Eric with no real pressure here. Luke not in too much danger. So we'll be able to play this Wall of Roots next turn, and that will effectively block some of the construct tokens that this Urza Saga is bound to make here and on the next turn. Potentially, Wall of Roots being an 0-5 blocks just about everything on the ground. Eric fetching a couple of lands out of the deck. I would imagine they're both going to be untapped, so we can make a construct here. Yep. Construct coming in. Eric, with no construct tokens here, has a couple of pieces of paper. Or a piece of paper, rather, sorry. Untap. And on Eric's turn, Chapter 3 of Urza's Saga is going to go on the stack. What's he going to do? Looks like it's going to be another construct. He has identified that he is the aggro in this matchup. Once the artifact is found out of the library, we'll have a couple of 3/3s. That is certainly a clock. Oh, I don't think that's a Wall of Roots in hand for Luke. Actually, it is a Wild Growth. Mox Jet is what's going to be picked up off of this Urza Saga. Yeah, Wild Growth, unfortunately, does not block. Eric going to shock in a Hallowed Fountain here. The 3/3 is going to come across. And we'll just pass back over to Luke. Luke does find a third land off the top. Wild Growth is going to go on the island. And I see an Ephemerate, a Fairy Mastermind. Can't get a good look at Luke's hand. Luke's just going to pass back over to Eric. Perhaps this Fairy Mastermind will get in the way of one of these construct tokens. Yeah, Luke with a one-lander, able to catch up pretty good there. Now has access to 4 mana. Constructs are going to connect. Luke going to conceal this Fairy Mastermind for as long as possible. Potentially being able to... Holy cow, what an exchange. So Eric stifles the fetch land, which is backbreaking to Luke, who had only just found the third land. A stifle on the fetch land, and then a reprieve on the Fairy Mastermind. A Time Walk from Luke, and a Birds of Paradise. Now on the next turn, it's going to be a White Plume Adventurer. Oh no. What an absurd stream of top decks. I guess when you keep a one-land hand, you're bound to have a grip full of powerful Magic cards. As Luke ventures into the Undercity here, searches the library for a basic planes. And I think we'll be headed back over to Eric momentarily. Oh, even Mind Sensor getting pitched to the Solitude here. Going to take care of one of the constructs. If holy cow! Wow, this deck has some powerful magic cards. Here's 2 mana from Eric. Dismember on the Solitude. Still was able to take care of one of the... Wow. Yeah, unfortunately, the Ephemerate does get countered that way as well, too. That Dismember did a lot of heavy lifting there, but with this construct just being a 2/2 now, it's not going to be able to attack in there and take the initiative back from Luke. Swords to Plowshares is going to take care of the White Plume Adventurer. Here's 4 mana. An Otawara now bouncing the Birds of Paradise. Holy cow, Construct token. Going to connect. Eric's going to take the initiative. He'll get to search the library for a basic land card. Back to Luke. Eric, a full grip of interaction for Luke's deck as the basic land is picked up here. What does Luke have left? That was an insane stream of spells from both players. This game has been super exciting to watch, and I really do want to give this Esper Flash deck a try. It seems very, very cool. Here's 2 mana from Luke. It's the Fairy Mastermind here. I see a Phyrexian Metamorph in hand. Not 100% sure what that other card is. Eric with the initiative here is going to put 2+1/+1 counters on the construct. So that'll be a 4/4 now. Another land from Eric. Interesting that he should want to attack here, to be honest. I guess it can't block the Fairy Mastermind, so might as well take your 4 damage because you're going to lose the initiative anyway. Beseiju, though, is going to take care of the Construct token. Eric will get a search for another basic. Good thing he brought plenty. And we'll see if there is any sort of follow-up to that. It doesn't look like there is. He's just going to pass back over to Luke with 3 cards in hand. Fairy Mastermind is going to connect. Luke will get to take the initiative back, and Scry 2 is the way that he goes. Still thinking about that Scry. I see a Spellseeker and a Knight of Autumn, it looks like. Spellseeker is going to go to the top. Knight of Autumn will go to the bottom. Here is 2 mana. There's that Birds of Paradise. So still floating a blue and a Phantasmal Image. That's going to copy the Birds of Paradise, I would imagine, because that'll give Luke lethal next turn. Nope, it's copying the Fairy Mastermind. Here is 3 mana for a Opposition Agent. Oh, Opposition Agent is going to make things difficult for Luke. Although maybe he will just be able to ride this initiative to victory. Eric doesn't have a ton of life. Here is 6 mana. Casting a Troll of Khazad-dûm. This thing has super menace. Luke won't be able to keep the initiative through this thing unless he wants to 3-for-1 himself. Here is 3 mana. Here's that Spellseeker. Perhaps just going to pick up a removal spell for the Troll. It's pretty likely that Luke would be able to win this game with the initiative alone. Swords to Plowshares is what he's getting. It's going to take care of the Troll. Force of Negation, pitching Dress Down. Swords to Plowshares is going to get exiled. Playing the Mardu Initiative deck, I have a ton of these land cycling creatures in my deck, and I have won an unreasonable amount of games casting Troll of Khazad-dûm and um, what is the other one? The red one, the Oliphant. I've run an unreasonable amount of games just casting them. I get into a mid-range board stall like this, and here's another one, Lorien Revealed, going to get cast here. So Eric will draw 3 cards. Luke, of course, will get to draw an extra card off of this, but sometimes just a price you got to pay. Troll in the red zone. All 3 creatures are blocking. Here's another land from Eric. Gonna get shocked in, and he'll just pass back over to Luke. So something to do with 3 mana. Luke's gonna make a skeleton creature token. Draw a fresh card off the top. And here is a Caracas, and it looks like 4 mana for a Metamorph. I bet that's gonna copy the Troll. One way or the other, chat. I think this game is going to be over pretty quickly. Vanishing Verse. Going to get rid of that Phyrexian Metamorph. Goodbye. Troll in the red zone. Eric gets to take the initiative. And deals 5 damage to Luke. That's it for game number 2. Holy cow, this Esper Flash deck is sick. All right, players will get shuffled up for game number 3 here. Love to see a game 3. Eric proving my point there about those cycling creatures. Just cast them out. 6 power creature with Mega Menace. Can only be blocked by 3 or more creatures. Luke being stuck on so few lands for so long and getting stifled likely kept him out of that game. We will see what game number 3 has in store. Will it be combo from Luke or never-ending stream of removal spells and counter magic from Eric? Eric, unfortunately, on the draw on a mulligan to 5 here. Let's hope he doesn't have to go down any further. 5 cards. Let's see him. 5 good ones. 5 good ones. Put the 2 worst cards back. Looks like perhaps this is a keep. There's 1 card. And a 2nd card. Headed to the bottom of the library. Luke's going to start off with a fetch land. Verdant Catacombs. Do we have a Mana Dork? It is a tropical island. Is a Preordain. Going to look at the top 2. Looks like both cards are headed to the bottom. Luke will get to draw a fresh one off the top, and we'll see what Eric's got. Is this 5-card hand serviceable? Wasteland, going to take care of the tropical island. Back over to Luke. It's a Temple Garden tapped. On Eric's turn, it is an island. Is a Flooded Strand. 2nd land here. Wasteland. Perhaps not enough to slow this man down. Here's a Wild Growth and 2 mana for a Coiling Oracle with that sweet, sweet RKF art. Richard Kane Ferguson, if you didn't know already, is my favoritist magic artist. So Luke will get to reveal the top card of the library. If it's a land, it's going to come into play. If not, it's going to go to hand. So one way or the other is going to get a draw card. That's an Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Eric has the second land here. That looks like this 5-card hand may not be too bad on the mana side, but does he have the spells to back it up? He's at 2 mana here. This is where you start to see some of these flash creatures and counter spells really come into play. Breeding Pool into play tapped from Luke. Perhaps just passing back over to Eric. Lorien Revealed is going to get cycled here. Perhaps finding that black source that Eric is missing. Interesting that the Coiling Oracle did not attack there. I suppose, though, attacking into 2 untapped mana from the Flash deck. Probably not the greatest idea. So keeping that Coiling Oracle back will most certainly prevent any blowout situations. Eric's going to untap and draw a fresh card off of the top. Here is a Bloodstained Mire. That's going to get cracked immediately. We know he has that Rafine's Tower in hand. What is this? Oh, this is Arrington Giada. So Arrington Giada, 3 mana, 2/3 flyer. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You can play cards with flash and flying off of the top of your deck. So once again, I did play round 2 against Eric, and this is the boss monster of the deck. So Arrington Giada was able to essentially draw him 3 cards. And being able to play stuff off of the top, you combine that with fetch lands and other ways to shuffle your library, you have a recipe for a 6/6 card advantage in an engine ephemerate. Going to flicker the Coiling Oracle end of turn, and then again in the upkeep, here's 4 mana for a Palace Jailer. That is going to get rid of this Arrington Giada. Looks like Eric has a Caracas, the Rafine's Tower, a Prismatic Strands, or sorry, Prismatic Ending, and a Solitude in hand. So Luke will get to become the Monarch. Is 3 mana. Going to cycle a Rafine's Tower. Perhaps Eric feeling a little flooded, and there's another land. This one is an Urza Saga, though. Certainly much more than just a land. On Luke's turn, a fetch land is going to shuffle this library up. Gonna be a basic Plains. With only the colorless mana up, Coiling Oracle is not afraid to get in the red zone. Here is 2 mana from Luke. Neoform. Gonna go find a 3-drop. It's gonna be the Spellseeker. Spellseeker will find the Ephemerate. No, the Ephemerate is in the graveyard. It's gonna be Time Walk. So I would imagine taking this line, Luke must have something in hand that will allow him to get something back out of his graveyard. Hopefully it's the Ephemerate. Draws a card from the Monarch and then draws a card for the extra turn. The mechanics like the Initiative and the Monarch, super duper good when you get to take all the turns. Misty Rainforest, going to get cracked here. Tundra into play. I have a bad feeling about this, Eric. Here is 4 mana from Luke. It is the Timeless Witness. So the Timeless Witness will be able to pick up the Ephemerate, and now we have infinite turns. That is going to do it for this game. Unfortunately, that mulligan to 5 there in Game 3 did not go very well for Eric, but it happens when you mulligan. Luke going to take this one down in 3 games. All right. right, YouTube, if you made it all the way this far into this video, I appreciate you hanging out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you turn notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. And please, get off my lawn!